Hello everybody, Maven here, and I just found out how insane the Vex Mythoclast is right now. It's kind of terrifying how good it is, yet nobody's using it. We've been in episode Heresy for what, like over 2 months, and I've only ever seen one person using it, and it needs to change. I think people are just forgetting that Particle Deconstruction exists, and Vex Mythoclast kind of abuses it and like cheats the system to create a synergy that should not exist, and it's incredible. So let me show you what it can do, and also a build I cooked up for it. Hope you enjoy. Shout out to our sponsor, Advanced GG, the #1 gaming supplement in the world. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off. Link down below. Thank you. So fusions and linear fusions are meta this season, not only because we have an unstoppable mod for them this season, but Particle Deconstruction also increases their damage each time they hit a target. Each hit will grant 1 stack, stacks up to 5 times, and the damage values are as follows. 1 stack grants 5% bonus damage, so on and so forth. At maximum 5 stacks, you get 27.6% bonus damage. But as you can see against Carl, getting those 5 stacks with a linear fusion rifle is going to be pretty slow since you only get 1 stack per shot. So by the time you get your stacks, the champ will most likely be dead already, and you might be wasting ammo because you're doing less damage. But then we come to the Vex Mythoclast, because despite it being a 360 RPM auto rifle, its weapon type is actually a fusion rifle. Therefore, those 5 stacks of Particle Deconstruction fill up in just a second, then you can swap to your other weapon, proc bait and switch, then swap to your linear fusion, and immediately have those 5 stacks and you're ready to melt bosses. So to put it simply, Vex Mythoclast just butters up targets to get them ready to be baked. But it itself can also do some very solid damage, since it can also take advantage of those 5 particle stacks as well, in addition to our solar surges, in addition to its hidden perk that increases its damage for 20% by 5 seconds after a kill, in addition to being radiant for 20% more damage, and our Vex is basically just a primary machine gun. It's absolutely wild. It's one of the strongest primaries in the history of Destiny 2 when paired with Particle Deconstruction, but also take into account that it has its temporal unlimited perk that charges stacks upon kills, and you can consume 6 stacks with a special reload to turn it into a linear fusion rifle. So first, to compare that against something, we're gonna bait Carl here with the Thunderlord, the highest standalone DPS machine gun in the game, without taking the Grand Overture's 20 rocket volley into account. And no surprise, we absolutely schmelt Carl as Thunderlord typically does. But now comparing that to our full combo with the Vex, we're gonna proc those 5 particle stacks, swap over to our linear mode, and omega chunk him to death, killing him probably slightly faster than the Thunderlord. And keep in mind, this is a primary versus a heavy, skipping even past specials. So just put that into perspective and just realize how insane the Vex is as a primary right now. And this weapon isn't really build specific, it's just solid in general, so you can use it on any build and it'll put in the work. You can use it on Storm's Keep Titan, Path of Burning Steps, or any solar or prismatic build for that matter. But today I decided to take it a step further and build specifically around the Vex only today. So I ended up on the Rain of Fire on Prismatic Warlock, and I'll be doing a solo expert lost sector in the gameplay so you can see the build in action. So the Rain of Fire says that final blows with the fusion or linear fusion will make you radiant, and you can Icarus dash to auto reload your weapons. So naturally, the first thing I tried out was with a solar build with Ember of Empyrean, so I can have infinite restoration and radiant paired with triple surges and free Icarus dash reloads. And if you run a rocket launcher as your heavy, you can cheese those reloads with your Icarus dashes for some solid burst damage DPS. But despite it being a pretty solid build, it's not what I ended up on. Why use the Rain of Fire for free radiant when you can easily have infinite radiant with Ember of Ashes and Ember of Torches on solar anyways? So I thought about what other subclasses would appreciate Radiant more than Solar did, and it just felt like Prismatic was the jack of all trades. Like, why go on Void for Devour when I can just use Feed the Void to get Devour on Prismatic? And why go Arc for Amplified and Bolt Charge when I can get that with Lightning Surge on Prismatic, which also conveniently procs Devour pretty easily. Now yes, Prismatic can already become Radiant with Facet of Dawn, which makes you Radiant on a powered melee hit, but it only lasts like 5 seconds and the uptime is atrocious. But with the Rain of Fire refreshing our radiance on every kill, we can always maintain that radiance and be 20% stronger while bot walking around with Devour and Bolt Charged. So I personally felt that it was just a little bit stronger than going on solar. So let's start breaking down the build, starting with our subclass. Now I just said we got Feed the Void and Lightning Surge, but for our fragments we got Facet of Balance to get melee energy back on rapid light final blows so we can spam Lightning Surge more. And then we got Facet of Purpose to get overshields when we pick up Orbs of Power because we do have a Void Super. Then we got Facet of Solitude to sever stuff on rapid precision shots, which conveniently the Vex is very good at proccing. Then we got Facet of Awakening to make things like fire sprites and ionic traces on rapid final blows. And finally, Facet of Protection just to be a little tankier when surrounded, but this slot is interchangeable and you can replace it with Facet of Dominance if you wanted to. Now, I was using the Vortex nades in the gameplay, but Storm nades with Facet of Dominance to make them jolt is pretty good too, but it's your call whether you prefer the resist or to take a hit on your stat points and have jolty nades. Anyways, moving on to our mod setup, it's pretty much just based around double Solar Surge with time dilation to make our Vex 17% stronger, but you can go triple surges if you'd like, but there's diminishing returns, and I almost always feel it's not worth running the third surge unless it's for a DPS build. Anyways, we're gonna need orbs for this, so we got Reaper, Heavy-Handed, and Solar Siphon, and I figured since we're gonna be killing everything with Vex, that being an exotic primary, heavy ammo finders would be pretty effective here. So I went with double heavy finders, but honestly, I don't even find myself using my heavy that much because Vex and Scatter Signal are already so strong. So I'll say that heavy finders aren't super necessary and you can just run hands-on and dynamo if you prefer, your call. And on our gloves, we got a Solar Loader and Impact Induction. On the chest, we got Triple Resist. We got Absolution on the boots, and finally Bomber on the class item. And for our stats, we are rocking triple hundreds in Resilience, Discipline, and Strength. Recovery doesn't really matter here since we're not rocking Hellion, so don't worry about that. And if you can't reach triple hundreds, then prioritize Resilience followed by Strength because our lightning surges are pretty strong and we want to get that bolt charge online. And for our loadout, this is generally what I am running, Vex, Scatter, Signal, Cataclysm, but you can probably see the glaring problem here and that all three of these are anti-unstoppable weapons. So if you need to deal with overloads, your Lightning Surge can do that since it jolts, as well as your Storm nades if you chose to run Passive Dominance, or you can just run Overload Machine Gun or a Chill Clip Tenacious Mastery. And if you need to deal with barrier champions, you can just run a Supremacy, Praetus, or Tenacious Mastery in your kinetic slot. Or the big brain play is to remove your anti-unstoppable fusion artifact mod so that you can take advantage of the fact that your guns have anti-barrier rounds while you're radiant. But only do that if you don't need to deal with unstops, obviously. And that about does it for the build. Once again, you don't need to use this build for the Vex Mythoclast to be good. This gun is just amazing on its own and you can use it with anything. This build is just for those who love the Vex and really wanted to build around it. And I do believe that this is the best Vex build around in the game. I scanned over every exotic on all three characters to try to find something that would have better synergy than the Rain of Fire, but there was nothing that had more synergy than this did. So that's why I went with it. And if you do not yet have the Vex, just letting you know that it is farmable at Atheon as long as it's the weekly featured raid. So just hop in LFG and farm it until it drops. And I would say it's worth the grind. I will say though, 9 times out of 10, it'll be great for champion content, but sometimes it'll lack some range because at the end of the day, it is a 360 RPM auto rifle. Yeah, it is a fusion, but it is an auto rifle. So in those scenarios where you need like extreme range, then maybe use it on Storm's Keep Titan because you got those lightning bolts that just spawn for free at any distance, so range wouldn't be too much of an issue for Titans. And one more thing about the Vex that I noticed, it's kind of like a bug with it. So for those that don't know, Bungie updated the way that unstoppable artifact mods work, and that before you had to like ADS and like not shoot for like 2 seconds, and then unstoppable is charged and you can stun unstops. But they changed that, so now you don't have to like not shoot anymore. You just have to aim down sights and the unstop rounds will eventually proc regardless of if you're shooting or not. But the Vex is still broken in that you actually cannot shoot or else it will not stun unstop. So you have to stop shooting for like 2 seconds. So maybe look into that one, Bungie, because that doesn't seem intentional. So that about does it for the Vex today. And as always, I will leave the dim loadout link to today's build down below in the description and also the pinned comment if you'd like to give it a try. And if you got anybody who are Warlock mains, I'd appreciate if you share the video with them. Perhaps this is something they might want to try out. Even if they're not a Warlock main, perhaps they just might want to see how good the Vex is. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope it has helped. If it did, maybe you can help me out in return by simply hitting the like button. It really goes a long way. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing. Would love to have you here for more content on the way. And remember to check out our sponsor, Advanced GG. Use code MAVEN at checkout for 10% off your order. Link down below. And I will catch you in the next video. See you later.